And then the only users from all of our markets that were reading the terms and conditions were the German users, without any joke. Like, not the British, not the French, nobody else cared about the terms and conditions. We had German users emailing us that we have a typo in our terms and conditions.
Hello and welcome to Mobile Heroes Uncensored, episode lucky number 14. My name is John Kutzier. My co-host is Peggy Ansaltz, and today we are chatting with Mobile Heroes in Germany, discussing massive App Store changes, and of course, telling jokes about not having any new jokes. Enjoy. So I am super sorry, Peggy. I do not have a joke today.
Oh no, I was looking forward to it. Don't bum me out here, John.
Well, the reality is, look, I mean, quarantine has really put a damper on comedy, right? I mean, it's been months since anyone has even walked into a bar.
This is true. And that was the joke, right?
That's the joke. 3 guys walked into a bar, 2 guys walked into a bar, 2 women walked into a bar.
Nobody walks into a bar. Absolutely
Nobody
not.
walks into a bar. No jokes. Sorry.
No.
Comedy is on strike. Comedy is quarantined. Comedy is on lockdown. And yeah, you know what? We actually have to talk about mobile news.
We do indeed. And there's a lot of it. But a really interesting story. You know, when I was reading about this, John, I thought to myself, okay, Apple making some big changes to the App Store, huge changes. First, you think, oh, it's concessions related to its restrictive App Store rules. And you think it's something really amazing, something really good. But like all things with Apple, John, it's complicated.
It is complicated, but it is actually also amazing. And it also, I think, will end up somewhere very good for mobile marketers and publishers. So as most in the mobile ecosystem know, 2 weeks ago, Apple promised developers the ability to let customers know, hey, you can pay for your in-app purchases on a website. So they said, hey, you can tell them about it. Then basically last week, in response to a Japanese government antitrust investigation, Apple said, hey, you can actually link to it. So that's a lot better, right? It's not just you can tell, you can link to it. Somebody can click into the mobile web, boom, pay, there you go, get what you want. Now there's an additional investigation into how the App Store and payments work in India. Ultimately, all this is stemming from Epic and its legal battles with Apple, Fortnite, and everything like that. But apps are going to get more price points. They're going to have more freedom about how people can pay for things in-app than ever before. I don't think we have a clue how big a deal this is. It's going to have a massive shakeup in what works and what doesn't work, what you can do, can't do on mobile. Doesn't mean, Peggy, that it'll work out for everybody, right? I mean, do you want to give your credit card to 50,000 different little apps, right? Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't trust them to manage it, right? So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, a couple reader apps, I can see that. It started out with like the big names. I can totally see that. But when you get down to it, all the apps, no. So yes, a challenge, a new touch point as well, John, if you think about it. There's another place where you have to make your mark.
And where you get to make your mark and where you get to make your customer not just connected to you via the Apple umbilical, but also a personal direct connection. So challenges, difficulties, absolutely, but also opportunities.
There you go. Speaking of opportunities, speaking of something else big and mobile, something about Liftoff, our sponsor.
Absolutely. So our listeners and viewers probably know, hey, this is sponsored by Liftoff, right? I mean, they do Mobile Heroes. This is Mobile Heroes Uncensored. Occasionally we'll hype them or hype their Slack channel, which we should probably do this time. But
Yeah.
Liftoff and Vungle, which were both owned by the same private equity firm, are now connecting. They're merging. So scale matters, first-party data matters. We've learned all this after iOS 14.5, right? This is creating a bit of a giant, Peggy. I mean, Liftoff delivers more than 2 billion ads every day across 500,000 plus apps. That's a lot. And Vungle itself has a massive platform as well. They enable over 100,000 mobile app developers and publishers to monetize their apps. And they just bought an influencer marketing platform with more than 15,000 creators and influencers on board. Are you on board, Peggy? Are you on that platform?
I will be after this show, John.
There's only one little wrinkle in all this. The marriage is happening and all that, but they haven't figured out for a name for the baby yet. I mean, currently it's Liftoff+Vungle. That is the name, literally Liftoff+Vungle. So I'm sure they'll think about it. I'm sure they'll figure it out. I'm sure they'll come up with something amazing and wonderful. I don't know, Viftoff or
Yeah,
Lungle. Who knows?
Lungle. Yeah, Lungle. I think we should just use, tap into the power of the crowd, the wisdom of the crowd. We should just have a contest here on Mobile Heroes next time. Name the company. And
You
come
know
up
what?
with the brand or the icon or something. Let's get a little creative.
That is a great idea. If somebody's listening and they come up with a new name, tag me or Peggy on Twitter. We will retweet it. We will also pass it along to the higher ups at Liftoff and Vungle. And you know what? Maybe they'll even give you a free ad campaign if they end up choosing your name. Who knows?
I can see it. I can totally see it.
So, Peggy, who are we chatting with today?
Well, John, full house, as you can see, right? And all from major apps across Germany. I will call you out and you can say hi when I do it. Vincenzo Cericchio,
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Global head of mobile marketing at food ordering app Delivery Hero. He is passionate about digital marketing. He's 8 years experience and living in Berlin. How long in Berlin?
Yeah, almost 10 years, but I'm still not fluent in German.
Almost German.
Yeah.
It almost counts. It almost counts. Continuing with Sergio Palau. He is online marketing manager at mobility and travel app Flixbus, which offers travel in more than 30 countries. And Sergio, I think you are living the dream here because you're originally from Peru and here you are in Berlin.
Munich, actually. So Flixbus has 2 offices, one in Berlin, one in Munich. And we are the headquarters in Munich.
Nice.
So when we're doing the jokes about Oktoberfest, I suffer the most because I used to have that in the city. So really, really sad. But yeah.
That's no fun virtual, that's for sure. But I understand one other point. You love climbing high. Your colleagues, I check this. I check everyone who comes on here. What are your colleagues saying about you? Now, don't ask me how I find that out. That's my secret. Your colleagues call you a rock star media buyer, Sergio.
True.
Great fit. Yeah, great fit. Because, of course, you're on a rock star show with a rock star lineup. But hey.
Absolutely.
No pressure later when we get to the jokes and the games about, what you would buy and what you would do. No pressure at all. Not at all.
Good to know.
Dora Trostanetsky, Director of Growth Marketing at SoundCloud. SoundCloud, the music and audio platform, letting people discover some pretty cool music, eclectic stuff from diverse creators. Her colleagues call her a go-getter. They say she's inspiring, someone to learn from. And this is one for you, John. Marketing isn't her only outstanding talent because she was part of the very first woman hockey team in Bulgaria.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hi,
I would
everyone.
like to play. Let's do this. We need a Mobile Heroes hockey team. Absolutely.
I'm up for it. Count me in.
I live in Vancouver, Canada, so hockey's in my blood, and yeah, I play.
Great. Very happy to be here.
And we have Carolyn Rota. She is head of performance marketing at Yazio, one of the most successful nutrition apps in the world, encouraging people to eat well, live well. She walks the talk, John. She has recently changed her life routine, moved to a quieter village, as I understand, deeply into energy healing, which sounds exciting.
Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. Super happy to have you. Super happy to be focused on Germany and German apps for one time. And you know what? We even have one German actually here. So, Carolyn, welcome. You are representing. It's a wonderful thing. You know what? We're going to kick off with a little bit of get to know you. Dora, I want to ask you this question. What is your superpower as a mobile marketer?
Yes, I think there are 2 superpowers that you need to have as a mobile marketeer. First one is resilience. You have to have internally in your company, you have to be very resilient because marketing is it's subject to a lot of opinions, like people coming to you and saying, I know what's going to work. This design are going to be the best. And you as a mobile marketeer, you just cannot take it anymore. You're like, no, we have to A/B test. We have to make sure it works. So resilience, you have to be strong because people have opinions about marketing, and then also external resilience because look what's coming out, what's happening outside. It's like iOS 14.5, then new things coming out on Apple, and things are changing so fast that you have to be very resilient and flexible. And this brings me to the second one, which is curiosity. And you have to be very, very curious and really constantly be proactive, going out there, looking for information, understanding, exchanging with peers. And if you're not, this is really going to hinder you in your career and in your journey. So these two things for me are the best superpowers you can have: resilience and curiosity.
I love it. I love it. I mean, that's a well thought out answer. A little bit greedy, Dora. I mean, 2 superpowers. I mean, like even the superheroes only have one.
What can
right?
I say?
It's awesome. That's very cool. Sergio, let's turn to you. So we've talked about superpowers, and that's a great thing to have. But everybody has kryptonite too. Everybody has their weakness, the thing that is really, really tough. Sergio, what is your kryptonite?
So to put it bluntly, it's fluff. It's that whole nice packaging that sometimes you have to go through when you're either talking to a new ad network or a new partner, and there's a lot of, let's call it marketing BS, that is like hours of slides and slides and slides of stuff. They're like, okay, but you could get slowly to a point. That tends to be something that I really struggle with, sitting there thinking like, we've talked for 20 minutes and you've said nothing. And then the reverse part.
You've just talked about our show. That is our show. You know, so you are in the right place.
Yes, but you're not trying to sell something to someone. You're having fun. You're connecting. That's nice. In this context, I love it. But what I hate is when they're trying to sell you like their newest AI modeled media buying, throw around 1,000 buzzwords, and then you're like, you've still not said anything tangible. Like we're just like throwing around words. And then the other side of this, when it's internally trying to either pitch something or move something internally, I tend to just put like, okay, so these are the numbers, very dry, very short to the point, and sometimes that doesn't have the best effect. Sometimes you do need all this fluff and pretty packaging, and like here, I actually, it's like 3 sentences, my whole point, but like I made a half an hour presentation because it's needed. I hate that. Like I really suffer doing that as well.
I love it. I love it. Directors
You're probably like the natural to do an elevator pitch because you're just gonna get to the point. That's kind of cool. That's a talent.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Vincenzo, let's turn to you and learn a little bit about you. What is the best thing that has ever happened to you as a marketer? Maybe a big win, maybe just a moment of utter joy. What is the best thing that's ever happened to you as a marketer?
Am I allowed to say this event?
Are you allowed to say what? Sorry?
Too obvious. It's too obvious.
No, but that's really nice. You have to say, this is the best thing that's happened to him, John.
What has happened?
No, we won't ask you about the rest of your life, though, Vincenzo. The high point.
No, but beside that, like I think like in general, like as a marketeer I enjoyed a lot, like, you know, when there was the possibility before, like, you know, to go to conferences, meet partners for dinner, for, I don't know, casual catch-ups, I don't know, brainstorming and like just talking about it. I think like, you know, especially in Berlin is full of these, like, you know, it's tend to be considered as the, you know, Silicon Valley of Europe, where you have a lot of like, you know, startups, a lot of things are happening, a lot of cool innovations. So I really like, I would say like, you know, the best thing that used to happen was like, you know, gathering all these like, you know, very talented people, like, you know, companies and innovative minds all together, which happens rarely now virtually with you. But yeah, this was something moments that I enjoyed very much in the past.
I would love to get you and Sergio together in a room with a camera. You just start talking, and Sergio, you just start, I don't know what you would do, running. And I think we'd have a lot of fun with that. That's awesome. Carolyn, let's turn to you. we all have great days as marketers, and we have horrible, awful, no good, really bad days. What is your marketing nightmare?
Well, right now I'd probably say iOS 14.5.
You're
Actually,
living your nightmare.
but that's nothing we can get out of. So I would say specifically for our business type, like the whole weight loss thing, New Year is kind of important, and it probably is, and it came true actually. Automatic campaigns not starting when they are supposed to, like at midnight on the 1st of January. So 1 year I literally checked campaigns like 10 minutes after midnight, and automatic rules didn't work.
Oh no.
So I spent a while that night to put in budget and starting campaigns manually. And that was kind of a nightmare.
Hey, at least you didn't curl up in a ball and start crying. That's a
Right.
great thing. You got active, you did it, you fixed it. That's great. That's not how we want to be spending our New Year's, but you got to do what you got to do. So Peggy and I want to know a lot about being a mobile growth professional in Germany. We want to know what's different, what's the same, what German companies in the mobile marketing space are amazing at, in mobile apps are great at, what they're maybe not so good at. But before we get into all that stuff, we do tend to sometimes play a game. Some people say with our guests, some people say for our guests. Sometimes it's for our audience. But the game is this: it is True Confessions. And we've done this, and it's actually been quite amazing because we've had some people. One guy who was on, I think 3 shows ago, Peggy, he sold programmatic for 3 years until a client called him out and said, "You don't even know what you're selling, do you? You don't understand
Probably
programmatic."
Sergio, actually. You never
So
know.
True confessions is you telling us, being open and honest. We know that openness and honesty is a hallmark of Germans. I mean, this is known globally that Germans are very open with their emotions, their feelings, very vulnerable. So we are asking you for true confessions to name one obvious thing about mobile marketing that you didn't know for years. You were in the market, you were in the space, you were in the ecosystem, you were a professional, and there was one thing that you just, I don't know, it escaped you, it missed you, you didn't come across it, and you didn't know it, and somehow, finally, eventually, you found out. Hopefully, it was through Google. Maybe it was through a nasty conversation with somebody that was calling you out. But everybody has this. We all have those little blind spots. And so we're going to ask yours. Carolyn, we're starting with you, and I see you looking all over the room. So you're obviously thinking something up. Exactly. Carolyn, what was the one obvious thing about mobile marketing that you didn't know for years?
Well, I just thought about it, and I think it was actually before starting my career in mobile marketing when my future boss reached out to me, and like I was already working for that firm as a working student in different kinds of topics. But then he reached out to me and asked me if I would be interested in a full position for performance marketing, and I actually had to Google performance marketing like, to really get the point what's the difference, and yeah, so that's my truth confession.
Peggy, can we give the woman an award? I mean, there's so many women who, are scared to maybe make that pitch for that job or apply for that job that looks a little bit outside their capability. And there's so many men who will charge in and have no freaking clue. Yeah, sure, I'm a nuclear scientist. I've been doing it since I was 5 years old, right? But hey, a little bit of chutzpah is a wonderful thing. Congratulations, Carolyn. That's awesome.
I want to also say something that you have to think about her abilities if she's getting a job for something that she doesn't really understand the job is for, right?
Like
You
we
know,
were
you really
building up performance marketing like from zero, so there was a ground for me to learn. That was good.
Yeah, but it tells me you've got kick-ass skills, Carolyn. That's what it tells me.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is super awesome. Now we're going to go around the room here, but I should tell you that Peggy has this store of like 1,000 Bitcoin. And the one who has the best story here, we're going to vote on it. She will get one of Peggy's Bitcoins. She has so many. I don't even know why she's working anymore. Sergio, we're turning to you.
Just
What
a
is
hobby job.
one obvious thing about mobile marketing that you didn't know for years?
So it's not so much that I didn't know it, but that I didn't touch it and didn't really know how to do it at all. It's ASO, because in my first company was gaming. ASO was very important, but it wasn't my responsibility. So I just looked at what they did, seemed horrible, and never touched it. Sadly, at Flixbus, at one point, they were like, "Hey, you come from gaming, you have more experience. Like, do you understand ASO? Do you know what ASO is? Kind of understand?" I'm like, "Well, yeah." And it turned out that I, with that small amount of knowledge, was the one who had more closeness to it. So it ended up being my responsibility, among other things. And that was a crude awakening. Luckily, it was for something like mobility, where you don't have the pain and suffering of trying to rank for tower defense or RPG games. But yeah, that was something that admittedly is good that I've done now, but was pretty oblivious to for a long time.
Yeah, how could it be important, right? I mean, it's only the place where people get your app, right? I mean, like, why would that
They
matter?
should get it through ads. Let's be honest. Everything through
Excellent.
ads.
Excellent. Good. Well, now, Vincenzo, it is your turn. What did you not know about mobile marketing for years that is actually fairly obvious in retrospect?
When I applied for the job, I had to say that I was not aware that an MMP was existing. I was like, "Hey, it's not Google Analytics. Is that not the same thing? What is an MMP?" And then it's like where I realized that mobile is completely different from desktop, and like there is a completely new way of measuring things. That there is an MMP that streams data to you, and so on and so forth. So this is what I haven't realized, and I was in the same situation of Caroline, where I had to kind of Google things around, like adjust and what is an MMP, what they're supposed to do exactly. And another surprising actually thing was that I realized recently, because I am passionate about Fortnite, and I realized recently that. Through this war that they were making with Apple, that there is so much payment that you need to do to the actual store provider. Like there's takes so much of a big stake from like what you are making as an earning, and this is something that actually I didn't realize until like this whole war about Fortnite and Apple happened some time ago.
Excellent. Thank you. You know what? What I love about this conversation is we have these, Peggy, I don't know, every third, fourth show or something like that. What it shows us, I mean, and hopefully shows everybody, is that you have tremendously successful people, amazing people at the top of their profession, and there's blind spots in all of us. And it's a wonderful thing because all of us have some level of imposter syndrome. I mean, like, what am I doing talking here? Who the heck am I? What, right? Dora, it's your turn. I know you've been eagerly waiting to tell everybody something that you just didn't know that was completely obvious. So we'd like to hear it, please.
Yes. So quite frankly, it happens to me. I mean, I would not say very often, but definitely every now and then that I find out of a functionality that it's always been there, or it's been there for 1 or 2 years, and I'm like, I did not know this existed. And I think the latest thing, and given that so ASO is my bread and butter, and it's I really, really, really like ASO. I really read about it. Always get I'm up to date. That's part of my scope here at Soundcloud. And then I went to on Slack. There is an ASO group on Slack, and I asked the question like, "Why is this happening?" or "How can I see this information?" And then somebody replied saying, "Well, there is a filter in Google Play, in the Google Play console." And it's like, you just apply the filter. And this was for me very embarrassing, because I thought I know the Google Play console inside out, and I was like, this filter I did not see. I think there's several filters. There's one on the top. There's one just above the charts. And that's the one that I did not know about. And I felt embarrassed, yet grateful, because now I know where to look. So this was, I think, the latest where it's been around for quite some time, but I just haven't found it before. So.
I think you raise a really important point, Dora, is that none of us know everything.
For sure. And that's
often
fine. That's fine. It would be boring otherwise if we know everything, right?
Absolutely. And if we just ask a little more freely, sometimes we learn something cool. So we do want to know a little bit about building mobile apps in Germany, what that looks like, what that feels like. So we're going to throw out some questions to the group here. Peggy and I will take turns. I'll throw out the first one. What is unique about being a mobile growth professional in Germany? What is unique about being a mobile growth professional in Germany? Carolyn, I'd like to throw that in your way first.
Let me think. I think there are a couple things that are unique. First thing would probably be that it's actually might be that we're not that many mobile companies in Germany per se. So there's not, like, for my feeling at least, it's not that large group here. Yeah, that would be probably it.
Interesting. It would be interesting to see some people who have come into Germany and come into Berlin or Munich or other places like that. Dora, Sergio, Vincenzo, what's unique about being in mobile growth in Germany?
I can quickly comment on that because that's probably the one thing that for Germany it's 100% super relevant is GDPR. Be compliant. Make sure your privacy policy. It's so important to the German user. I used to work a long time ago for a B2B company, was a SaaS solution, and then the only users from all of our markets that were reading the terms and conditions were the German users, without any joke. Like, not the British, not the French. Nobody else cared about the terms and conditions. We had German users emailing us that we have a typo in our terms and conditions. So this is very, very, very particular about the German market. Make sure that you have your privacy policy, your terms and conditions, and anything that's legal and it's super well done, so that you can really gain their trust. And this is just the first step in gaining their trust. I think the German users are particularly fond of the word trust. They don't trust easily, so you have to earn it.
Here I thought the Italians would be the ones reading the terms and conditions.
I mean, why won't you do that? We have plenty of time to do that. I think they even calculated that if you read something like all the terms and conditions for everything, it will take probably 3 lives or something, like, to complete all of that.
Amazing.
Yeah, but I have to say that I agree with also with Caroline on this point. It's I think the mobile ecosystem, it still needs to build up. Like, if I see that also, like, the usage of, like, the mobile inventory is still underutilized quite heavily. Most of the companies are also, like, in Germany are also a lot of desktop driven still. So it's not a lot that you will. It's still like an underutilized opportunity. It's like, it's still a lot to be discovered and to be developed in the market. It's still pretty much desktop related, I would say.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Going back to that point of trust that Dora mentioned, because I mean, Flixbus comes from desktop but then has the app, and you still see in Germany or in some other countries that there are people that will either prefer to buy offline because there are also shops to buy the bus tickets, or on the desktop because they know that they've gone over their huge mistrust of electronics and done the electronical purchase on the desktop, and then now suddenly you come with an app and they're like, okay, give me your debit card, credit card info, and that trust of, like, I don't like this. I don't trust Google or Apple with my payment info. Why do they need to know this? Why do they need to know that? That is something that is super German. I mean, we launched in the US, and then so it's like, the app is, compared to Germany, like 3 times more like huge, because they're completely used to buying via their phone, and like it's a no-brainer. While Germans, you have them very cautiously approaching these topics very often.
Carolyn, you were going to add to that?
Yeah, and I would say, like, with the data privacy, also the payment methods are a thing, because Germany is a cash-loving country. Like, we have tons of stores where you can pay with cash only, and like, or just when you spend a certain amount, you can pay with a credit card or your bank account card. So you have to be pretty flexible when it comes to payment methods. Like, for example, my mom does still think online banking is super insecure and rather carries every transfer to the bank letterbox. So she doesn't have a credit card, no PayPal. So you have to be really, like, flexible when it comes to payment methods as well.
Wow. So now I know, Peggy, how to really annoy a German shopkeeper. I'll buy like one candy bar at a time on a credit card, like 5 times
They
over.
won't let you, John. They won't
No,
let
right.
you.
You won't be
I
able.
think they chase you out of the store. I really do. I'm listening here, and the reason I'm nodding is not because I've got like some sort of problem here. It's because I'm nodding because I'm affirming all this. I'm thinking, what am I doing here, John? Because I do live in Germany and have done that for nearly 20 years. Shock. So I can only say absolutely the same things. It's about privacy. It's about trust. It's the only country that's going to read the terms and conditions and tell you if the comma is missing. So on that note, we know what it is here, but that's what is different about Germany to other places. What's the same? I'll ask you, Sergio, because you have been elsewhere, obviously, and you're here in Munich, which is very different from Berlin. So you probably have a very different view of what's different. What's the same, rather, with what you've seen?
Yeah. So I mean, to be honest, all my experience in mobile marketing has been in Germany. So before it was in Karlsruhe
Okay.
and then in Munich. So I just grew up in Peru. But I mean, when talking to the people, what I get the feeling is like the teams tend to be the same. I mean, in gaming at least, it was, even though one company is in Barcelona, the other one is in the US, like you still feel like in the smaller startups that it is the same. It is that feeling, and it doesn't feel very German, luckily. So one reason to go to stay in startups and like that allows them to attract a lot of international talent is that it doesn't feel like you're going to a German company and like with very German feeling. I would say that's one thing that's definitely the same in those companies, and like in the acquisition across markets. One thing that I found was the same as like when you get to the very top, like Wales, like they didn't behave. I mean, at least in gaming, they didn't really behave that much differently between Germany and US or Italy, other European countries. On Flixbus is different because like it's very related to the network. So like in a country like Germany, where Flixbus comes from, we can say like, yeah, we have a huge brand recognition, and it's different than a country where we just enter, where we are completely unknown. So it's really hard to compare Germany, best market we have, to other markets. But what I would say is the same is that in all of these markets, there are still people that refuse to like that buy cash, we like buy on offline. So like there's still, much to my dismay, everywhere people that refuse to do stuff on either the app or online. And quick thing, our app basically, like you could buy your ticket offline or on the web and then load your ticket to the app. So there's people who do that. They buy the ticket offline, but just so that they don't lose their paper, or in case they lose their paper, then they load it to their app. So there's people who have the app, just refuse to buy on it. And that happens across all countries, and it's very infuriating, actually.
A little bit of that lag in being totally digital. That's something that's everywhere in the country, every country or many countries in the world. Dora, I'll ask you next. What do you think is very much similar? So what is here that maybe you've seen elsewhere, in Bulgaria, perhaps?
Well, Bulgaria, it's such a small, tiny market. But I would definitely say that one thing that we all share across country, it doesn't matter, across continents, we all share the same issues, the same limitations, the same topics. And this is iOS 14.5, tracking. How do we track our traffic properly, etc.? Because we have universal solutions for everything. We have Just Apps Flyer, we have Branch, we have Firebase, different solutions really that you can use, but we all face very similar issues regardless of the country in that sense. So for me, this is the one thing we share, our problems, finding solutions. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. We all share our problems. There's probably some uniqueness there and also some similarities. I want to ask this question. What are German teams or companies really good at in terms of building apps? I mean, we all know that Germany has an international reputation for building cars, right? In terms of mobile, there are some very significant companies that come out of Germany. There are some very significant apps. What is Germany really good at? Maybe we'll start with you, Vincenzo.
I think in Germany, I would be a little bit unpolitically correct here. What they are good at least from my experience, to copy. They
Oh, shoot.
they copied a lot of business model. If you think about it, about like how big companies came out from rocket internet, they copied business model. They make it probably like easier to use, like more intuitive. I don't know. They adapt it to the market. I would say this is probably what they do well. Like they copy the model, they make it more successful and tailor made to the market to where they want to launch it. But they also have like sometimes like features that they build it on top of it. So I would say they are good at like copying the business model, get it there and scale it massively. This is what they are really good at, like get it fast and like make it work like super even faster.
That's really, really interesting. Of course, we all know Rocket Internet, and they had a thesis, right? See what was working in a mature mobile marketplace or web marketplace, frankly, bring it to Europe and spread it, right? So, but of course, there's more than that as well, right? Carolyn, what are German mobile companies really good at building?
I'd say health and fitness apps, actually, because I mean, like,
Why would you say that?
I don't know. We're coming out of Germany and we have quite a lot, huge and international health and fitness apps, I'd say. Like, among us, there's Freeletics, there's Fasting, there's Bodyfast, Asana Rebel, Runtastic, even though they're like in Austria, I think, right now. But I think health and fitness apps is something we can really do.
That is really interesting. I was interviewing Freeletics recently. They've got an AI-based fitness program. They're bringing it to the esports industry, which is really cool and kind of interesting. Interesting. Very good. Cool. Peggy, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So we're talking about what they do really well. What are German companies good at doing? What's maybe a blind spot, an area they're missing? Maybe even you want to suggest an app and someone will go out in there and make it. I will ask... Dora, you look like you want to say something.
Peggy, I always look, I want to say something. I think I like talking. I think that's definitely no secret. I'm actually surprised that nobody wrote this feedback about me on Facebook. Like, she really likes talking. Yes. So the one thing that I think that German companies are lacking, because I experienced it and seen it quite a bit, it's taking risks. The amount of meetings that need to happen for a decision to be taken that it's out of the box, I can't even count them, like the amount of months. And I think we could all agree that big companies that really succeed innovate. They really are thinking out of the box and they do things that nobody else has done before. Yes, it is a big risk. Yes, you can fail. But what I can see from my experience with German companies, German teams, they just want to play it safe. Maybe this kind of connects to what Vincenzo was saying about taking ideas that work and just really recreate them in a very good way. This is a safe bet, right? Because you already have a very good test elsewhere. It worked very well. So you just do it and adapt it for a different market. But really taking this, your chances of not knowing what's going to happen, it's not something that I have observed in German companies as a whole.
Carolyn, what would you add to that?
I'll probably add long decision processes or too long decision processes, which is kind of going in the direction what Dora said, because we are really bureaucratic here. So like oftentimes, and I think we like German companies could be better at like making decisions faster and keeping the bureaucratic stuff out of there.
I would not fit in well in a German company. I just would not. Hey, that looks cool. Let's do it. Right? Done. Decision made. Off we go. Lose $100,000. Okay, whatever. What's next? One thing I will
ask the same question though of Sergio, John, because he's our sort of like our BS meter here. Sergio.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I was
the blind spot in Germany. What is it?
I was sad that Dora took it. Like it's definitely the risk taking. Like I mean, it's them thinking about it 3 times, having another meeting just to make sure. Also, it depends. Like when we say German companies, how many Germans are we talking about? Like, let's say I used to work like you can have a German company that's been founded in Germany. It's like one German out of 50. So the problem is like if you're saying with a lot of Germans, I have seen that when the more they are of them, wonderful people, a lot of good qualities, as they say, very risk adverse. And then you have this situation of like, but let's just include this other person and like, or maybe include legal as well, just to have a triple verification, making it a huge long process. No, as John says, hey, cool idea. Yes, I like it. Let's do it. So that velocity is really missing there.
In my company, that would be an instant firing offense. If you ever say bring legal into it, let's just ask legal if it's okay. I mean, instantly done, toast, gone, forget about it. I guess I could never start a company in Europe because you can't fire anybody, but that would that would be where I would go with that. I just have to say, I'm really impressed. I mean, Dora, you said you like to talk, right? I'm really impressed with all of you. You're probably all trilingual, right? And you're speaking in English. Wow, it's impressive. I mean, you're obviously in Germany, so you're speaking German. You're speaking English. Many of you have a different language as well, and yet you communicate extremely well. Just huge props for that. That is impressive. Really neat to see. Okay, let's talk about Germany and user acquisition. So we're not talking so much about spreading your app out or, across the whole EU or even North America.
Hold on. I wanted to say mine on the previous one.
Oh, go ahead, Vincenzo.
Go for it.
I think like what German company could do better is to be a little bit more empathetic, with people. They are sometimes very direct, very focus oriented, like the goal oriented, and focus on the on strategy and achieving goals and so on. But that sometimes I miss this like I don't know sentiment, about like being I don't know, also people caring and this kind of stuff. Like I know like you won't believe like how in Italy how different it would be in Italy. If you think about if Germans are inefficient in the way they do meetings, you should go to Italy, discuss for months about like over dinners, coffee, and everything, and you don't get anything done. But yeah, but on the opposite side, they're like very caring, very nice to you, very very lovely, and very talkative. This is something that me as an Italian, as an European person, sometimes is missing. Like people could just be a little bit, more caring. Beside business.
That is a great ad. Thank you for doing that, Vincenzo. I love it. I still am on my idea, Peggy, of putting him and Sergio in a room together with a camera, live streaming it. I think this could be a lot of fun.
I think so.
Okay, so I'll go back on my original train of thought here. You're doing user acquisition in Germany specifically. What do you need to know? What partners do you need to work with? What is different there? Who have we not heard from for a while? Let's talk to Dora. You're doing UA, user acquisition in Germany. What do you need to know? Who are you working with to do it?
I will revert back to the data thing. You make sure that you have to have trusted partners, because if there is an exchange of any kind of identifier, you have to make sure that the data it's either anonymized or whatever it's being passed, it's really kept just between the parties. So I would say you have to really make sure you work with trustworthy partners. I don't think in terms of networks, we always talk about the biggest networks, the social networks. We have some local aspects to it. For example, if you're a B2B company, LinkedIn is a great resource, but you also have Xing, for example, in Germany, which is their professional network. So there are some different channels, but I would say the major ones are the same, social media, Google, etc. But always this, compliance, trust, and privacy, because you cannot take any chances of something going wrong.
Carolyn, anything to add there?
Yeah, I would say like marketing from out of Germany, translation or localization is key for the Germans. Like I would say if you wouldn't win anything with ads in English here, especially when you target like age groups above 30, I guess. I think we're still a little behind when it comes to speaking English, especially compared to the Scandics. So I think, yeah, we are way better than the French people, actually. But yeah, still, it will make a difference to localize or translate your creatives to German.
That makes me feel bad when you say we're behind, because I mean, when I travel in Europe, and I haven't for 2 years, obviously, so many people, maybe not in France, speak English, and it's a wonderful thing. But I mean, it's your country, it's your language. Why would you need, it's wonderful if you can speak to others. And I understand that English is sort of the new Latin, and I'm very happy. I'm very blessed by that. I mean, I feel very privileged by that, because I can go anywhere in the world and speak to people mostly. But I mean, in your own country, you shouldn't have to feel behind if you don't use English as much. You're a German, you can speak German. That's awesome. Peggy, let's move on to the next one, because we're running out of time here, and I do want to get to our very last one as well.
That's true. But I was enjoying every minute of it, John. Even though I live here for so long, hearing it, it's like, yeah, that's right. You forgot that. That is very true. These are some of the characteristics of the country. Another characteristic of Germany, probably unique, really, is that every state has a say. There are 16 of them. So you talk about marketing in Germany, but there are some differences between the states within Germany. I'm wondering, maybe with you, Vincenzo, I'll ask you, because of course yours is about food delivery, which is going to be different in different places. I mean, I don't know about you, but Berlin, I can eat after 10 p.m. and there's no other place where I can. Seriously,
It's called a
not.
fridge, Peggy.
No, it's called I didn't. It's called I have no food. I'm hungry. It's 10 p.m. Feed me, and I cannot get food. It has happened. So all of these different states app marketing, is it consistent or very different? Vincenzo, I asked you. Let's hear from you.
In this matter, I would not know, to be honest, like exactly what's different. I would say like there is probably some slang that is different between East and West Germany, South and North. But what is exactly different between these 16 states? I have been in Berlin since 10 years. I haven't get the chance to travel around so much in Germany and live around so much.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know, like one another network that I could think of, like for example, that it probably is important, is probably is being pretty big in Germany, is Pinterest, which I think is quite popular in the country. But I would not know, to be honest, where these
Okay.
the big differences are among those
That's okay,
16.
Vincenzo. You're honest about it. Sergio, I know that you're not in Berlin, and you can then see firsthand any differences. Are there differences in Germany across the 16 states?
I mean, to be honest, the way we target, it's the same, with the difference
Okay.
that specific relations from A to B, like product catalog kind of things with Facebook, that then are rather not because of this is Bavaria and that is Berlin, but rather these are the relations out of Munich and those are the relations out of Berlin. And I've rarely seen any difference, to be honest, except actually recently saw a billboard in Munich that was halfway translated to Bavarian. So because it's kind of like I'm gonna get in trouble, but like it looks like a drunk person texting in German. So it is German, but it doesn't really, like, you can kind of understand what it is when you read it. And kind of that hyper localization of going like, I'll just write it in a dialect. I guess it might be somewhat successful for people that refuse to react or like find it funny and like the company more. I mean, at the end of the day, Caroline was very humble, saying like, yeah, the Germans are a bit behind. They're not. Like, you will find them, they will understand it. Obviously, like if you talk to someone in their native language, they are more likely to understand everything rather than just like 90%. They might like you more if they know that, I don't know, you are an international company that has taken the effort to localize to German. So yes, you will catch more people like that. In some areas, I mean, this is a bit off topic, but going to the hyperlocalization in Germany for the vaccines, they've gone to the point of localizing to saying, okay, in that part of Berlin or in Berlin, the top language, obviously German, then English, and this, and they're starting to put everything in those languages. So it does have a higher effect when you go to them, even there in Germany, like John says, you're in Germany, you should be able and allowed to speak your language, but going for, okay, I just need to get this done here, 10 more languages. But like, I've never really seen anyone go that deep for marketing purposes where you need to kind of justify every dollar and like have your return.
Yeah. It is interesting because, of course, I'm looking totally from the outside, right? But I would say that, and I'm Canadian, but I know that you can't market in the same way in BC that you do in Newfoundland. Or if you're looking at the States, you'd have a very different message in the Pacific Northwest for a lot of different things, depending on the vertical you are, than Alabama or Arkansas or something like that, right? So it is interesting. Well, we're coming to the end of our time. I did want to ask a question of everybody, and I'll get you in sequence here. And it's kind of about this craziness that we've been going through for the past 18 months or so. 2020 and 2021 have been really challenging for most of us, even though in a lot of cases, they've been really good for mobile businesses, right? Retail, obviously, delivery in a lot of cases, fitness in a lot of cases, other things like that. Want to ask each of you, how do you see the future, the rest of 2021 and the coming year in terms of mobile and your business? I think, Dora, we'll start with you and work our way back across the screen.
Yes, so I think that this year will be the year of uncertainties and a lot of experimentation. So we have, beyond iOS 14.5 and all these privacy issues that obviously make UI extremely challenging, we now have Apple introducing tests on the App Store, so you'll organically be able to test your screenshots, but also have up to 35 variants that you can actually send your paid traffic to the App Store. And this is something that it's not really clear how it's going to work. Are the networks going to require some sort of integration with Apple or not? So we're still going to be figuring out things until the end of the year. So somewhere in September, this is supposed to be made available, at least for the organic part. And then we as marketeers, we have to figure out what are the limitations, what is the statistical significance with the tests we're conducting, how reliable they are. So for me, 2021 is definitely a year of figuring out things, and hopefully we'll be in a better position next year to scale and execute with more confidence.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Vincenzo, your thoughts. How do you see the coming year?
I see it like for mobile marketers being tougher and tougher in the sense that the measurement will become crazy. It will become so complex. Everyone is modeling their own data. Everyone is building modeled data from the MMP to the company, to Google, Facebook. Everyone will have his own, model outcome data that will become very, very tough to really know the real truth about how you're spending your money and what you're getting back for each single channel or campaign. And who knows, after iOS 14.5, or there will be Android 14. I don't know, who knows. And then it's gonna be, I think it can only become more challenging. It will not become easier for any of us to measure performance and everything. And we all gonna be relying on modeled data, either from the partner or from your MP or your own algorithm or your own media mix modeling. But yeah, this is gonna be the future.
I love what you have to say there, Vincenzo. And one thing I will say, as someone who has been around for a little while, there are some wonderful things about marketing that you can't measure as a marketer. No, I'm kind of joking there. I mean, do you want to win or do you not want to win? Or, but there's some wonderful things about being in the dark a little bit, because you can try some stuff. You have to be creative. You have to actually let the art and the ingenuity come out. And guess what? Nobody knows if you screwed up. So
I would like to refer also what Dora said in the really beginning. Sometimes you get challenged a lot about marketing, what you do, and sometimes you need to be a believer. You need to believe in some stuff, and need to be sometimes also stubborn about it, right? Because the good and the bad of marketing is everybody can have an opinion on it about shall we measure this in this way with this MMP, click to attribution, view to attribution, 2 days, 7 days, whatever, 30 days, look back windows. You can do pretty much everything you want, and everybody can have a say on it. But you also need to stick to what you are like, your basically experience, what you absorb from the past experience, and stick to that, and stand the ground.
Excellent. Dora was talking about that earlier. Sergio, briefly, how do you see the coming year?
So hard, as everyone said, with the whole tracking topic, but for Flixbus specifically, since you said both everyone and us, it's getting better. I mean, like, we've been in lockdown, proper lockdowns before, and it's starting to open up, and light is starting to shine through and at the end of the tunnel. So from our side, it's hopeful and nice. So I
Good.
think I might be the most optimistic one in the group for that.
Hey, you don't tell them that light is the train.
Light can't be the train.
We also have trains, that's fine.
It's called Delta. No, it's all good. Carolyn, last words. How do you see the coming year?
Yeah, I won't start about iOS 14.5 right now, but I think it will be interesting how people start getting back to normal lives, like try to understand what happened to people in the last 18 months or so, what has changed in their minds, like do they have new routines, new thoughts about lives, maybe like new topics in their head. Yeah, kind of try to understand or try to look behind people's heads what has this past 18 months made with them. So I think that's going to be really interesting and relevant for us.
Carolyn, that's a great point. I mean, you did it yourself, right? Peggy was talking about it earlier. You moved to a smaller town. You moved to a different type of life. And I think that we've seen that recently. There's been a wave of people maybe retiring early, maybe taking a different position, maybe moving pretty far away because they had a chance to reflect and think, what do I really want? What do I really need? What do I really look for? What are my goals in life? So it is a chance for us to do that. And yes, as Dora and Vincenzo, Sergio have said, or maybe not so much Sergio, it's a challenging time. It's a turbulent time. It's time for experimentation, trying stuff. Hey, we live in the times we're given, and we do what we can. I have to say, and I think Peggy would agree with me wholeheartedly, this has been an amazing panel. You have been amazing panelists. You've been incredible. You've shared a lot of insight. You've shared humility. You've shared humor, and it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. Likewise.
Absolutely. I'd add that it's also very candid, and it tells people what to expect when they come here, because there are a ton of foreign companies, American companies, starting up in Germany, because it's just very exciting. I mean, I'm on the board of the Mobile Marketing Association, and interest is very high because, that is the point. There's a little bit of a lag in Germany, but that's what makes it so exciting. So when you come here with your rocket internet frame of mind, you can launch one hell of a company, John. So think about it.
I'm coming.
I made a believer out of him. This is great.
Excellent. Thank you all. It's been a pleasure, and talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.